Welcome to the Sports Lounge. I'm Travis Kriens. David Schadenkirk back from Florida. He made it back alive, and stories hopefully to come. Nathan Stacken, the Duluth resident, Nathan Stacken right there, and Brentford, South Dakota's own Charlie Hildebrand. Gentlemen.
Yep. Working on that barbecue sauce contract still.
11th hour deal?
What's that?
Is it going to be an 11th hour situation?
It's going to be 23 military time. It's going to be at least 23:57 before we get it done. It's going to be late.
It won't happen during this show, but we'll see how it goes next week for you. Marcus Traxler, he's covering the knife stabbings in Mitchell, and we have Drew Amman at the desk just in case anything else breaks. He can have us alerted. But the big story, we didn't talk about it last week, but Tommy John surgery, like the plague in Europe, it's running wild like Hulkamania all over the place. Quality pitchers getting hurt. Recent counts, 24 pitchers had it last year. There's been about 19, 20 of them have had it this year. A lot of theories about why this is happening. We'll kind of break things down here, but initially, is this a big story, and is there anything that pops out to you right away as to why this is happening? Because nobody knows.
I think that we've been hearing more on how these kids coming up out of the Caribbean League, down in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, everything, they're pitching pretty much year-round in order to try and get their shot to the big leagues. And someone has got to tell these guys that, the best way to prepare yourself for a long career is to take it easy, at least a couple of months. That there was talk about maybe playing basketball. They had some roundtable discussion on ESPN on SportsCenter earlier this week, and I didn't catch the full length of it, but there's a lot of concern in baseball circles. And then you have a story coming out of this pitcher in Washington who threw 14 innings and 192 pitches or something like that. That sort of thing is just begging for Tommy John surgery. But
I'm completely fine with that.
You are.
Maybe he threw all change-ups.
He's just a guy. He's not gonna. He's not a big-time pitcher. He was an infielder. He was just a guy.
And maybe this wouldn't have gathered headlines or national attention if the Tommy John outbreak wasn't as bad as it is right now. But definitely it hurts when you lose guys like Jose Fernandez, Craig Kimbrell, all these guys.
Anybody else?
I guess I don't have too many super in-depth thoughts about it, but they've been talking about Tommy John surgery for years now. And one of the things that makes it different than most other surgeries, when you need them in athletics, is that frequently the guys come back better and are pitching faster and harder. So you get some guys that get it maybe when they don't need it to hopefully then pitch better, and that creates problems. But at the same time, I think it's not as big of a deal as it used to be because, medicine and surgery, certainly in the United States and throughout all the other first world countries at least, is they're so much better and so good at doing these things now that I don't want to say that major surgery is never a big deal, but it's not like it used to be where it was like, well, fingers crossed, hopefully this goes all right. We're now just like, oh yeah, we'll get you Tommy John, and in a few months you'll be throwing 5 miles an hour faster like it's no big deal.
It's not a career ender like it may have been, because guys now are coming back from it. Is that correct?
Yeah, the rehab process is so much further along than it was when it first started happening in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and those guys were taking a career risk, and now it's 8, 9, sometimes, obviously a year before you're back to full strength, but it's been commonplace. And all the big name guys aren't so afraid of it anymore. If they go blow out their elbow, they're semi-comfortable with them being able to come back, so they're just out there to win as hard as they can. If it happens, it happens. And it's honestly some of the big names, like Jose Fernandez, we'll see what happens. But I think it's better to blow it out now instead of 5 years down the line, because you're going to have no time to recuperate and stay in 22 years old and comes back. But, it's an issue, but I don't think it needs to be more enforcement. Something we just doing to it.
Is this like concussions in the NFL where there's no more concussions now than there used to be? There's just more people diagnosed with concussions now. There's just more people that are getting Tommy John to where maybe before it was, well, my arm hurts and we'll kind of rehab it and see what happens. And if I have Tommy John, that might be the end of my career. And with the NFL now, if you have a concussion, you're done for the game and you're reevaluated after the game.
And maybe you could even compare it to like how it used to be if you blow your knee out. You know, it used to be if you blew your knee out, you were done for forever. And now, you know, certainly it's still going to take time to get back, but you can blow your knee out, you know, before you're 30, and as long as you rehab it right, you can come back fine. The difference though is, you know, like with Tommy John, lots of guys come back better. I think certainly we don't necessarily want to see the day where, you know, high school kids are purposely getting ACL surgery when they don't need it because it cuts 0.2 of a second off their 40 time.
What happened, though, back in the day when these pitchers in the early 20th century, even dating back to like the 1880s, 1890s, were pitching, you know, double headers in a single day and then coming back 2 days later and pitching? I haven't heard of these guys having terrible pain in their elbows. Now, things change over time, and maybe we just didn't hear about them. They didn't say much back then, but it almost seems, perhaps to an extent, like the wussification of America. Play through some pain.
Very good, very good. Yeah, because the pitch count, the pitch count's a factor. I assume that they throw harder than they did 100 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, but
the game has changed,
yeah.
But there are factors. I mean, what happened 100 years ago?
But still, throwing 300 innings, you know, starting every other day, way different now. And it pisses me off when I see these guys go out there and throw 20 pitches, and they're unavailable the next day because they threw 20 goddamn pitches. And I know they throw warm-up pitches and then they get it ready in the bullpen. So it's more than 20 pitches, but it's like you can't throw more than 20 pitches in back-to-back days. I think that's pretty poor. 100 pitches. Why 100 pitches? Why not 80? Why not 90? Why not 120? Why is it 100? Why is that the magic number?
Sports like focusing on round numbers. That's why 50 home runs is a big deal and 500 home runs is a big deal and 1,000 yards rushing. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. It's just a nice round thing where they can say, this seems like a lot. We're going to stop now. It
would be interesting to go back to, like I say, back to the early 1900s and just see what hitters were doing too in the pitch count. Were they taking a lot of pitches? I mean, what the average pitch count was that back? Because maybe a lot of these pitchers weren't throwing that many pitches, and that's why they were able to go so many innings, because batters were swinging at stuff right away. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that maybe when they say it's the 100 pitch count, that maybe that's similar to what it was back in the day or whatnot. I don't know.
Like, you even look back at guys in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and they're throwing like 150 pitches some of these games, and they're throwing 7, 8, 9 innings. You look at the guys and, you know, 4-man rotations, and if they don't go to the 7th inning, then you look at their stats, and few far between the games that they don't go at least 7. So it would seem like advanced medicine, you know, the best technology, but you know, guys are throwing harder, but we have more injuries than ever. Is this just a phase? Is this going to stop? Is this just something that we're going through, or are they gonna change? Are they going to change something? Because I don't know what else you could change. They're already hampered enough along the way. Innings limits, pitch limits. You can't do any more to shrink down on what they can do.
And you have to remember that back in the 60s and 70s, the closer role really hadn't come into play. You know, they didn't do a ton of relief pitchers and stuff too. I mean, the sabermetrics have gone far and beyond here in these last few years to try and tailor your bullpen to specific needs, and the closer role again didn't really come into play until later on. So that's another factor, too, and why these guys in the 60s and 70s were throwing as many pitches as they were.
I don't know if it's I mean, this just kind of popped into my head, and this is probably not the case. This is just the off the top of my head hypothesis. But, you know, if you, and I'm not a car expert either, but if you think about cars, you know, like the really high-end cars like Ferraris and Lamborghinis need to be worked on more, and when you're pushing things to the extreme, they break down. And, you know, you always hear about the guy that's got the pickup truck that, you know, is 4,000 miles overdue for an oil change, but it's no big deal. And it could just be the difference that as we figured out how to kind of maximize how far we can strain and push human bodies, along with all the workout regimens and everything, that we've just kind of pushed it farther than before, where it used to be, you know, you would throw however many innings and pitches, but you didn't do all that other stuff that put strain on your body too. And maybe that, I mean, I don't know if that truly is the case. My guess is it's probably not, but I think that could be part of it.
For example, 33 Nolan Ryan, 33 starts in 1988. He was 41 years old, so had plenty of good years left. 8 games he threw over 123 pitches. He had 1 game he threw 141, another he threw 139. You know, you're not going to see any guy really get close to 130 this year unless they are chasing a perfect game or a no-hitter. And even then, once they get probably to 120, 130, they're going to be taken out no matter what. You look at the list of guys that have gotten the surgery, and you know most of them are starters, are not relievers. Most of them are starters. Does that have something to do with it? The wear and tear, obviously these relievers are not going, they're not pitching as much as these starters are. That would make sense. Nathan said.
I mean, it certainly could. There are so many factors, and there are so many people kind of taking a look into what exactly is going on. And I just don't think that at this time there is one true answer. There's one known big reason over another why we're seeing so much of this. Is it a fluke year? I really don't have an answer, but I think now it's becoming such that baseball is in scramble mode to try and invest as much time and money as it is to make sure that the young stars of the game last as long as they can.
You brought up the sabermetrics, and while we're on that topic, the shifting of the infield, they're going crazy with the shifting of the infield, on pace for 13,000, 14,000 shifts this year. They had 8,000 last year, and they've doubled each year since 2011. Why did it take so long for this stuff to catch on? And why is it catching on now? It happened 8,000 times last year. It's already happened, 3,000 or 4,000 times this year.
Sports are really stubborn. When someone comes up with a new way of doing things, everyone treats that like, I don't know, like it's got rabies or something, that they just don't want to be near it. And that's about the only thing I can think of. And it seems like baseball has always kind of been the most, don't ever go outside the box or think differently. And I think that's the easy, I don't know if that's the only answer. I think that's the simplest answer, though.
Yeah, especially in a sport like baseball that is as stubborn in their tradition, in their past and history and everything. They don't receive change very well at all. So, now it's probably just time where they're like, oh, I guess we have to accept this and go with it. And now everyone's using it as much as they can.
But at the same time, it's also, that when they start doing it, when you realize that it works, and, if this guy that, would bat 380 against you, all of a sudden when you shift is batting 285, you say, well, this is stupid and I hate it and it's ruining the game.
Yeah.
But we won 4 more games this year, so I guess we might as well keep doing that.
Right, and sometimes it's like, well, it's not my idea, so why do I want to use it? Well, actually, just because someone else came up with it first, you should probably still use it if it's going to help you win games.
It's interesting because, the bullpen, in the 90s, I really went nuts with the bullpen, and, the lefty's got to face the lefty, and the righty's got to face the righty because the batting average is such a drastic difference. And the shifts, I mean, they used to just be, your David Ortiz type guys where, 80% of their balls are going to pull to one side or the other. So you shift that way, and they're too stupid to just bunt the goddamn ball up the third base line. You're paid to hit home runs. I understand that. And if you're David Ortiz and you can hit 24 of them in 3 games against the Twins, that's what you do. But
Chicks hit the long ball.
But there's no third baseman within 50 feet of third, so maybe kind of once in a while lay that bunt down there and get an automatic hit. But maybe that's the next thing. You see it happen every once in a while. But I would hope that as these shifts continue to happen more regularly, that bunt on the third base line will happen more often as well. If I were to tell you on May 18th, 42 games into the season that the Twins would be a 21-20 and then 21, what would you have said?
Possibly.
Possibly. Well, it is. You would have said possibly. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have said you're crazy, but I don't follow the Twins that closely. I'm basically taking it off of how negative I'd heard other Twins fans with their prospects and regards going into the season.
I said that this was going to be a 500 year at best for the Twins. So the fact that they are at 500 right now it makes it very possible for me to see that this would happen.
You have the Stones to say they're going to go 81-81 this year?
I said that's the best case scenario I can see for this team.
No, I'm asking if you're going to predict that they're going to go exactly 81-81.
Oh, that'd be very. What are my odds?
1 and 2, either it will happen or it won't.
I don't like that. If we have to go that versus the field, I'll take the field.
Thank you. Even more surprising, since the pitching was somehow worse than it was last year in the first month. The pitching's gotten better. Here, the starting pitching's gotten better. The bullpen had a very poor week, but they take 2 out of 3 from Seattle. They've won 3 series in a row. They go to play San Diego early this coming week, another team that can't hit for crap. So you'd like to get 2 out of 3 there. So
I think it's just 2 games actually in San Diego.
Is it? Very good.
Which is dumb. I don't know why they're only playing 2, but I think that's what's going on there. I was at the game last night, and Brian Dozier's the real deal. I don't know if some pets got into him or what, but he's really.
You heard it here first. Breaking news.
I don't want to be mean to the guy, but I mean, what he's doing is really quite phenomenal. The way 11 home runs now this year. He's been the real catalyst in that offense. When you need a hit, he delivers, and he's certainly hitting for power this year.
They play San Diego 2 there next week, and then in August, in the beginning of August, they come here for 2 games. So that's how they do that, I guess. Brian Dozier. I looked at his numbers last year at this time. I got done seeing him in Atlanta a couple games. He was hitting just north of 200. Now the batting average is around 250. Most runs of any player. With Troy Tulowitzki, each had 40 runs coming into today's game. On Facebook, my cousin commented on my little stat I had. Could Brian Dozier hit 30 home runs and have 30 stolen bases? He already has 11 home runs, and I believe at least 12 stolen bases right now. Is that crazy to think that?
Yes, because we're talking about Brian Dozier, but at this point, I think anything is possible with what he's doing and what he's putting up for the Twins, and they've really been scrambling around with their outfield, a lot of injuries and stuff. So it's nice that Dozier's stepping it up, and I guess it is possible, but I don't know what odds you would have put that he would be a 30 guy possibly at the beginning of the season, but they had to have been astronomically high.
One of 2. Either he would or he wouldn't.
Okay, let's go Vegas odds here, Kriens.
Vegas odds. Very poor. Very poor odds.
David's audio is working now. Yeah, what type of action would you have gotten? That's probably not even. is that even on? Could you go to a guy and say, hey, I want to bet this? Brian Dozier, 30 home runs.
That depends on how shady your guy would be at the beginning of the season. If you take a bet on something like that, he's pretty crazy. But if you were to walk into any place, they're not going to offer you that. But now, if you wanted to, they probably have it up on the board for a couple of guys that are off to good starts. I think the power is going to wane a little bit. His double total last year was huge. What do you have, 18 home runs or something? I figure he'd probably fall in that 25 home run category. He might get 30 steals, but I don't see 30-30. It would be quite something if he did it, though.
And I believe a lot of these home runs are barely getting over the fence. A lot of solo home runs. You hit one in the flower pots yesterday.
Yeah.
Similar to Joe Mauer in 09, these home runs are in the first 5 rows of the seats, so they're barely getting over the fence. So if he could hit 25, I'd be really impressed. He's almost halfway there. But and with the All-Star game being in Minnesota, Kurt Suzuki's having a hell of a year. We don't expect that to continue. Chris Colabello, good to see him back. Colabello we knew of last year in September, so he's back to normal. So that was a fun ride while that lasted. Mauer probably won't. He'll be there, but he probably shouldn't play because he's not. I mean, the average is always there, 300, high on base. But you compare him as a first baseman compared to a catcher. He makes it as a catcher. He doesn't as a first baseman. But you'd expect Perkins to be there, and I think you would expect Brian Dozier to be there for the All-Star game, would you not?
Don't forget Jason Tyner.
Wow. Wow. Look at that guy. Very good. David Ortiz, he had a hell of a series there this week. Apparently, the strategy at some point after about 3 or 4 home runs was to not give him anything in the middle of the plate. But who's to blame for that? After 1 or 2 home runs, you're like, okay, that's enough. This guy probably shouldn't swing the bat the rest of the game. But is this manager's fault? Is this a pitcher's fault? Who's the fault?
Ortiz just owns the Twins. I mean, he literally owns them. I think he does. He does. I think he does the best against them out of any team. It's probably just some motivation he has for them not re-signing him and making him into the player he is today. So I think you know what, Twins fans like to see him succeed. So why not let him hit some home runs against them?
They all talk about, he loves hitting at the ballpark. No, he doesn't. He loves hitting against the pitchers. The pitchers suck. Doesn't have a goddamn thing to do with the ballpark. Hits it over the fence. You can play anywhere as long as he's playing against those Twins pitchers. That's the deal. I've never heard anybody. I've heard tons of people say, "Oh, he loves hitting here." Why does he love hitting here? Because the pitchers suck.
430 goes out of any ballpark, regardless of what the dimensions are.
Maybe not Petco, but.
Jot and Kirk, do you have any stories from the Players' Championship? You were down in Florida last week. You got to see Blake Bortles have his moment in the sun. Players' Championship stories, Jacksonville Jaguars draft day memories.
Well, the Players was a lot of fun, obviously, being down there in the sun-soaked Florida, but the tournament was good. Obviously, Tiger wasn't there. Phil didn't make the weekend. It was kind of a disappointment. But you look at the leaderboard, Martin Conner ended up doing it there on Sunday in dramatic fashion. You go through the top 10, you got all your heavy hitters. I'm sorry, the big 2 already named. And maybe like Adam Scott's missing that you had. Or you had Lee Westwood, you had Peter Garcia, Justin Rose, everybody, the who's who in the top 10, 20 in the world right now. Some drama. Not really necessarily stories, but it was a lot of fun, a lot of quality time spent, and it was quite the experience. Looking forward to maybe going back someday. But the draft party in itself was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. People got into it. There was more people there, and they were shocked factor for us being selected was rather high. But the experience, unless like for the players, and just a good week overall, and a lot of fun.
Was there any worry there at the end with the rain delay? Like this thing may not finish on Sunday?
Yeah, there was. There was a very large concern because the Kyle missed that putt on 17. All likelihood would have been looking at a playoff. That was going to be on Monday. The rain delay came at the absolute worst time and took the momentum out of the final round. It must have been a better to watch on TV too because at the time there's only a couple holes left and leaders come down to the wire. And when Kyler made that fourth quarter on 18 to win, there was maybe 5 minutes that they could have been playing before someone had to call it because being 150 feet or so off the green, like all the spectators, including myself, I couldn't see the ball. I was looking at him to see his reaction. That tells you how close it was to being moving to Monday morning, which would have been disastrous for the
The facilities look very nice down there.
Yeah, it's some of the best facilities in the world. It's Sawgrass. Honestly, courses I've been to, it's top 40, if not higher.
What did you think of? Did Jordan Spieth choke in your opinion, or was he just not having a good day? What was the factor into his downfall in the final round?
Really, the big for me was his putting early on. He was coming in Sunday. He had made like everything inside of 7 feet the entire week. He missed a couple short ones early. Kymar was just being that rock, and they were kind of trading blows back and forth on the front nine. A move made by Kymar and Spieth didn't answer, and then down the stretch, you just kind of lost your driver to here or there. But no, I don't think it's a choke. He's 20 years old. He finished top 5 in the Players and made himself a nice check for the week. But there is something to be said, though. He's had chances to win these tournaments, and he hasn't closed on one since last summer, but he's still only 20. I'm going to give him a break for now.
I'm giving you Jordan Spieth or Rory McIlroy, the rest of their careers. Who do you have? I have Jordan Spieth.
As far as major victories?
His overall career.
Overall career, yeah, give me Rory 1,000%.
You'll take Rory, okay. Stacking.
I'd love to take Rory, but he's so shady right now. I think I will take Spieth.
You predicted that Rory was going to win like 8 majors, so you think Spieth's going to win 9 or 10 then?
I said 22 majors for Rory McIlroy.
Take that number times 2.5.
Yeah, I said 22. Give for Rory, and you know what? I still would love to see. I think he has the skills to do it, but he needs to be a far more consistent player during these majors than any other tournament he plays in. Far too inconsistent at this point. You know what? Once Spieth kind of gets through there, he'll be picking up majors left and right.
The thing with Rory that no one's really talking about there is just in the tight-knit golf community that his struggles are so-called struggles. He's still finishing in the top 10 of most of these tournaments. He might fade back on Friday when he makes Sunday charge. He hates doing that, but it is what it is. You got to give him credit for hanging in there. But the club change he made to Nike was the stupidest thing he did, and it's cost him probably a year and a half of his career. He probably would have had 3 or 4 more wins if he would have stuck with his old club.
Well, yeah, I mean, he made the run at the Masters, but I mean, that was on Sunday. I mean, he was never in any real contention. He was going to get in the top 10, but I mean, he was so far back. It's like, well, okay, that's a nice footnote, I guess, to his career. He needs to do that Thursday, Friday, and then let's see. I think it would be great for golf if he can start getting on the right foot. If Jordan Spieth can take off, win a major here, we could see them kind of be the Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson here for the next dozen years or so. But they need to pick it up.
You got to give them time. They're in their 20s. Phil didn't start winning majors until he was in his 30s. Tiger was the exception, obviously. You got Rory, that's 24 years old and sort of got 2. I think he's just going to be just fine. Golf is one of those things that if a guy doesn't win in 6 months, it seems forever. But if you win 2 or 3 times a year, it's a damn good career.
Yeah, I was going to ask how old they were. You said Rory's 24. How do we know how old Spieth is?
He's just 20.
Just 20? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they both got plenty of time to win plenty of tournaments.
Be the next Fred Couples, not the Tiger Woods, not the Phil Mickelson. Be the next Fred Couples. Win a few majors, have a good career.
Greg Norman.
Yeah. Sure.
I think most people would murder someone to have Greg Norman's career. What did he win? 2 or 3 British Opens in his career? I think British Open was the only one he ever won, but 2 or 3 at one major is 2 or 3 more than almost anyone else on the planet has.
But like the San Jose Sharks do in the playoffs, sometimes the Shark came up short in the majors when they mattered the most.
Look at that. Since you mentioned the hockey, is anybody more excited for the hockey than the basketball right now?
No.
Why the hell are you more excited about the hockey, Mr. Purple Shirt?
It's brown.
That's brown? God damn,
It's brown.
I gotta get my ears checked. That's brown.
It is brown. I can show you purple here. Anyway,
it looks purple to me. It looks purple to me.
I know. I know. It's probably the webcam, but I assure you it is brown. Anyway, I always like the NHL more than the NBA. I can't.
How disappointed are you that these NBA ratings have been very good, the best in a couple of years?
It is what it is. It on its face for a few years, but the playoffs have been great. The second round was garbage. I'm sorry, it absolutely was. The first round of the NBA playoffs, I can't remember watching more basketball than I did for those playoffs, but I really hope the Indiana Pacers win. I could kind of care less who comes out of the West because I'm going to be cheering for the Pacers to win it all based on all of the everything that everyone has said. Now, I doubt they're going to win, but hey, they won today. Like I said, I'm a huge hockey fan, so I think it would be great if Chicago wins out of the West. They beat the LA Kings 3-1 today. Whoever they take on, the Rangers or the Canadiens, it would be a original six Stanley Cup matchup, and just like it was last year with the Blackhawks and the Bruins, I think that would just be awesome. Awesome to see.
You don't want to see a Kevin Durant, LeBron James final that goes 7 games?
No.
Magic and Bird style?
No, because I want the Heat out because I hate the Heat. I want them gone. I do not want a three-peat. I don't want everyone jizzing in their pants over LeBron James and company doing it again. The Heat Miami does not deserve another championship because
they don't deserve
their fans are garbage down there. Did you see game 5 against the Nets? There was no one in the stands the first 5 minutes. It's like, are you kidding me?
They were all watching Montreal practices.
Maybe they were. It's garbage. Now, there are plenty of Heat fans around the country who are loyal to their team, so that's fine. I have a roommate who's a Heat/LeBron fan.
Fans that have been Heat fans for 25 years.
There's this interactive map that whoever the hell put it out, USA Today, New York Times, New York Post, whoever the hell did it. They did one about Major League Baseball. You got your Yankees, you got your Braves, you got your Red Sox everywhere where they shouldn't be. Just replace those teams NBA-wise with your Lakers and your Heat and somewhat your Bulls. But, I mean, Lakers, everybody loves the Lakers, and the Heat, everybody loves
I hate the Lakers.
Well, if you don't care about it, you'll say, yes, I like the Lakers, yes, I like the Heat. And when LeBron James goes to wherever the hell he's going to go to in a couple of years, they'll say, oh, I like the Portland Trail Blazers now because he's with the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah, so you're a LeBron fan. It's like when Brett Favre played for the Jets and then he went to the Vikings, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I really, I won't mind cheering for the Vikings. So what you're saying was all those years when you're like, oh, I love the Packers, you loved Brett Favre. Shut up. I mean, this whole obsession with LeBron is ridiculous, but Miami fans, they don't deserve another championship, so I really hope Indiana ousts them and gets the NBA Finals and then wins. I guess I wouldn't care whoever won that as long as it's not the Heat.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Heat fan either, but let's be honest. There's no way. Does anyone really think the Pacers have a realistic chance of beating the Heat in 7 games? I would put it to go with and Schottenkirk probably saw this too, but Travis knows about what was it, the Idaho political debate thing? I think
that was funny.
Indiana has as much of a chance to beat Miami as that biker Vietnam vet does to be the governor of Idaho.
Do I have to YouTube
just because they made it to the final 2 of the East doesn't mean
Just Google Idaho governor debate. It's an hour long. You got 2 normal lifelong politicians on the right. You got Grandpa Jones and his beard on the left, along with some biker racist guy with leather chaps on the left. It's tremendous. Whenever the guys on the right talk, just click past it. Whenever the guys on the left talk, watch it. Yeah,
I didn't watch it. I was at work, but I found like on Yahoo they basically had a breakdown of only what the two guys that didn't have a chance to win. They basically had just a quick recap of the stuff they said. And this is pretty good stuff.
This is the most talk Idaho will receive nationwide forever, pretty much. So.
Until a kicker misses another.
Are you kidding me? You talk about Boise State all the time, Stacking.
Well, I meant like the state of Idaho, not when it comes to sports. This is unless there's a potato famine, then we're all gonna die. And Burger King, McDonald's will collapse as we know it because no one will eat fries.
You know, Idaho's not even the #1 producer of potatoes in the United States anymore, statewide.
Who is? Washington?
I'll give it to California.
I don't remember who it was. I remember it's not. Well, this was as of like 5 or 10 years ago. It could be Idaho again now.
Well,
I don't know.
California won't be anymore because they're up in flames.
The entire state. Not an inch of ground is safe.
That's a big state, Stacking. That's
Hey, you know what though? They are 100% drought. I watch the Weather Channel. I keep track of this stuff.
The largest state in the country.
They are all 100% in severe drought. Then there's like parts that are in exceptional drought, and then they're talking about some hurricane hitting them. I think California would welcome a hurricane. It would give them rain.
And they're bankrupt. There's just nothing going on in that state right now. California doesn't have any redeeming qualities.
Absolutely
Nobody lives there.
I watched Homeward Bound 2, San Francisco, and I saw that it was very dry, so therefore they need water.
+1 for the Homeward Bound reference drop from 20 years ago.
You know, this Pacers team, you know, they almost won by 20 today. We expect them to get their brains blown out at some point by 20, 30 points. And I expect them to come back again and blow Miami out by 20 points. And I said at the beginning of the playoffs, I felt like Game 7 was very important, and neither of these two teams really cared all that much who got it resting their starters at the end of the year. I think it's very important. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter of Game 7, and Miami's been very, very good in the fourth quarter these past 3-4 years. And I do give Indiana a chance. It would behoove them to close this thing out in 6 and not in 7, but if it comes down to the fourth quarter of Game 7, you know, that would be very exciting.
Isn't this what the Pacers wanted, though? I mean, there was a chance that they would struggle in the first 2 rounds, but they do match up pretty well with the Heat. So, given how fragile this team is, I can see where the doubt lies that they can actually go through with this and beat the Heat. But I will give them a much better shot at beating the Heat than I would pretty much any other team.
I think what the Pacers really wanted was for somehow to be able to play somebody else besides the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. They were really hoping to play the Nets instead.
Yeah. I think this is going 7. Just like last year. Here's the deal. Miami's not as good as they were last year, and despite Indiana's struggle over the last month, they're better than they were last year. So there is that.
I think that the Spurs and the Pacers have much better, almost an equal chance to beat the Heat and dethrone them. If Oklahoma City and Miami meet in the finals, I think Miami wins it in no more than 6 games. I just don't trust the Thunder. I don't.
In the West,
okay.
You go. Sure.
Well, I was just gonna say. I don't know, and I don't want to pick on Stackham. But just the way he said, I don't trust the Thunder. I was gonna say, based off that one time they didn't bring your car back on time.
I don't get that. But...
He doesn't get it. What do we?
I was say different. You meant trust one way, and I took it a different way.
They spurned you. You and the Thunder are buddies. You went out one night. They took your car and they left you with your pants on your ankles. The West.
Okay.
I know, whatever. The West.
It wasn't a good joke in the first place, so don't think too much about it.
The West.
I do live a sheltered life, so it wouldn't shock me if I was left out in the dark on something.
Hydrate. The West. Everybody take a swing. Everybody get a thing out. Everybody's okay. The Thunder swept San Antonio 4-0 in the regular season. And I believe the Heat were the only team ever to beat a team in the playoffs that beat them 4 times, that being Brooklyn. Ibaka's out. Another injury hits the Thunder at a poor time.
Hips don't lie.
The hips don't lie, and the hips are hurt. This is very tough for me to pick because you got Oklahoma. I think San Antonio's the better team, but they've already played 4 times this year, and Oklahoma City's won every time.
And they are old too, and they just keep getting older each year. It seems like.
And it's, you have Durant,
Not at every
Westbrook.
spot.
Yeah, you have Durant and Westbrook. There's no better 1-2 in the league, in my opinion, than that. And if you have that, I think that's very hard to beat. I would go Thunder. Reluctantly, I'll go Thunder.
And this was the Western Conference Finals last year too, right?
Yes.
Or was that the second round? Yeah. I would say, yeah, the Spurs won last year, so I guess I would just take the reverse and have the Thunder this year, just because I think it would be tough to beat them 2 years in a row. And like you said, if they were 4-0 in the regular season, I don't have a great ton of confidence in saying that. But if you're going to make me pick, I'd say the Thunder as well, because they're new and shiny.
Mm-hmm. It was Memphis. Yeah, Memphis San Antonio Western Conference Final, memorable because the Grizzlies didn't win a damn game after Memphis took down Oklahoma City in the semifinals because Westbrook got hurt.
And he could be the difference this year. I mean, he's played absolutely phenomenal. When Kevin Durant has struggled during games, it's been Russell Westbrook that has picked up the slack for the Thunder and has carried them to victory, literally willing them at times. And for those who don't think that he and Durant can't coexist, you may be right, but I don't know. It's tough. Let's see Kevin Love go to the Thunder for Russell Westbrook and see him and Durant play together.
I don't think that's an option, but as we segue to the best white American player right now, rank him 1 through 5 as far as that goes. Last year of his contract, Minnesota decided a few years ago not to assign him to the max contract.
Thanks.
Because obviously...
Is that con artist of a GM that did it?
Obviously, 25 points and 13 rebounds for 3-4 years isn't quite enough for max con. He's no Joe Johnson, I'll put it that way. So Kevin Durant, he wants out to nobody's surprise. Does he? I think he'll play with the Timberwolves again, but we'll start with, does he ever play with the Timberwolves again?
For the Timberwolves' sake, I hope not. In my opinion, he absolutely does start the season out of his strength throughout some more than the year. If they were smart, they would move him as soon as possible, and once the finals are over, after the draft in July, get him the hell out and get what you can now.
I think that's probably a reasonable thing. I'm going to steal what Marcus said earlier today, and that they keep him, don't trade him, and then just kind of let him go away for nothing. Because it just seems like that happens too often in sports and situations like this. Instead of getting at least something.
Sports.
Well, I mean, it's not just Minnesota, but yeah, certainly it has happened to Minnesota a fair amount recently.
Chances Kevin Love signs with the Angels to be their left fielder. They need a 5-hole hitter. Hamilton, Pujols, Trout, who hits 5th. Love. Nathan Sackton. Should Minnesota trade this guy in the next month?
Well, if he says, no, I'm not going to re-sign with you, then absolutely trade him. I would try and trade him to a team that's got a high lottery pick and take Joel Embiid, take a chance on this guy. The people
You're not going to pick that high.
I could.
No, you're not.
You want the big guy with the bad back?
You know what? I want to take a chance on what people say is the next Hakeem Olajuwon.
No.
That's what they're saying.
No.
I'm not saying that because I don't know the comparison. I'm just saying that they're saying that, but I
I
will
don't know
take a
who
chance
they
on.
are, but they need to calm down.
He'll be closer to Greg Oden than Roger.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you could take Grandpa Oden. I don't know.
He's probably the next fifth best center in the history of the NBA.
Here's the thing: they're talking about the Warriors are interested possibly in trading. The Bulls are interested in a trade. If you trade with the Warriors don't have any picks this year in the draft. So what are you going to get for him? Are you going to get Klay Thompson? Are you going to get Andrew Bogut? Ooh, that's big. He's the injury-prone Andrew Bogut. I'll take him in a Timberwolves uniform any day.
You want Embiid. You say, Embiid's my guy, and then you laugh at the Australian.
I was joking.
You were joking.
I wasn't really.
No.
Basically, the Timberwolves should be stripped of their name and become the Timber Puppies because they're garbage.
Yes. Very good. Ooh, the Lakers are out there. I hope he goes to Chicago because I'm a Kevin Love fan and I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I think that would be great. Where would he end up? If he gets traded, where does he end up? And what do you get for him? What do you want?
At least 2 first-round picks. Wouldn't you think? Maybe a player?
Chicago, they got 2 first-round picks this year.
I hope this doesn't happen, and I don't know if I really am going to predict this, but just because this team loves making flashy decisions, and they never seem to work well, maybe he goes to the New York Knicks.
He could be their coach, too.
He could probably do all sorts of things better than the Knicks do already. I mean, why not?
The only thing he has to worry about is James Dolan.
Steve Kerr goes to Golden State. 5 years, $25 million. Everybody thought he was going to the Knicks. He says, no, I'll go to the place where they fired their coach. He's the best coach they've had in 20 years. Would you rather have the Golden State job or the New York job?
I'm going to steal a joke I heard Jay Moore say on the radio the other day. But, if you're going to be a head coach, you've got to be a smart guy and make smart decisions. I think we already know he's a smart guy that makes smart decisions because he didn't go to the Knicks in that train wreck.
Agreed.
It's the
Now,
worst.
I don't know how much better Golden State's going to be, but it's not the Knicks, and I don't know if the Knicks will be good for a while. I think they're kind of like the Cleveland Browns or the Buffalo Bills, that they've just kind of doomed themselves through horrible decisions and management, and the only difference is that it's the largest city in the United States.
The only way that this is, or I shouldn't say the only way, but it's a good job by Kerr to take the Warriors if they can retain Curry and Thompson and see if they can make a splash by getting someone like a Kevin Love. Because Curry was in Jackson's corner. He really liked Mark Jackson as a head coach. And with him going there, there's some dissent perhaps in the locker room about whether or not where the direction of the franchise is going. Kerr, I think, certainly makes a lot of sense. And if Curry and those guys who were for Jackson can buy into Kerr, then it's definitely the right choice. But if they leave, then maybe he should have gone to New York.
How much better can Golden State get? They're not pushing the top 3 spots. Maybe they get to 4. Can they get above 4?
Well, San Antonio eventually will hit the decline after Ginobili and Parker.
We've been waiting for 20 goddamn years.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been 8 years that we've been waiting for that to happen.
Eventually, these...
So there's going to be some European they'll bring over in the next few years. They'll be great.
Eventually, those guys will retire and San Antonio will slump unless they rig the draft lottery and get the number 1 overall selection like they got for Tim Duncan.
Well, they had the worst record that year, so that makes sense.
Right.
Either way.
So that year that they suck is the year that Golden State gets to 4.
They'll pick Joel Embiid.
The year the Colts suck, they got to draft Andrew Luck. Sometimes you just pick the right year to not be good at stuff.
Yeah, but you also have to win the lottery. That's different in the NBA than it is the
Well, they did
NFL.
have I mean, it wasn't like they were a team that was 40-40 and just got or 41-41 and miraculously got it. I mean, they weren't any good that year because Robinson was hurt.
I think Boston though had the best odds at getting it that year, didn't they? If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Boston who had the worst record, and San Antonio kind of snuck in there last moment to get it. But like when Derrick Rose, when Derrick Rose came out, the Bulls were like a 1.7% chance at winning the lottery, and somehow they did. It's because Derrick Rose is from Chicago, so the NBA needs to do away with their lottery pick because there's conspiracy written all over that.
Maybe they don't. They got a new commissioner now. Maybe that's all gone.
So let's see here.
And to answer your question earlier, I don't know if Golden State can get any higher than 4th without making some big move in a trade or in a draft or something like that.
96-97, San Antonio was 20-62. They had the 3rd worst record behind our Vancouver squad and Boston. So they had the 3rd best chance of getting it, and they ended up getting it. The Knicks, Mark Jackson, he obviously isn't going to be their coach since he's broadcasting the finals now. Who is their coach?
Derek Fisher.
Okay.
Oh, God, no.
Lawrence Frank. I don't know. Whoever it's going to be, my guess is it won't work out, but...
Joel Embiid.
Does anyone think Rick Pitino would leave Louisville to go back to coaching the Knicks?
No. Something interesting that I heard. If Kobe Bryant was 2 years older, would he be the next coach of the Knicks?
Yes. Absolutely. Not absolutely, but in my opinion, absolutely. For reasons, him and Phil always say the relationship is still baffles me why Phil didn't go back to the Lakers 2 years ago. The Buss family kind of fucked that one up. But Kobe's going to be a coach in the league less than 5 years after he retires. So if he was 2 years older, I think he'd be there again.
How about we do a Carmelo for Kobe trade, something little else on the Knicks, and make that player-coach thing happen, and go from there.
I'm not a big Kobe Bryant fan, but if he went to the Knicks and was the player coach, I'd end up watching more Knicks games in one season than ever in my career. Just because I want to see a sweaty guy on the bench always drawing up plays. It's like, okay, give me the ball, and everyone else get the hell out of the way.
Do they get
and then answering press conference questions, and like switching back and forth between a player and a coach, whichever one helps them more. Be like, how come he missed that shot? I don't know. The coach had been bugging me. I couldn't tell you how. I'm blaming it on the coach.
He swaps it out. He'll put a tie on when he's coach.
Do they get the Lakers in Brentford?
I think only Comcast does.
Very good. Donald Sterling, may as well go to Donald Sterling. At the end of the last show, we had some tweets and some quotes from his interview, which were terrible because he's just fucking crazy. How bad did you see that interview, and how bad was that? That was bad. He doesn't get it.
I didn't see it. I heard the gist of it, though. And, yeah, I think you're right. He's just an old guy. Doesn't get what's going on, and he's stupid.
Now, I've heard, and I'm not defending him whatsoever, because especially his attack on Magic Johnson was deplorable.
We'll get to Magic Johnson. I have words for Magic Johnson.
Okay, well, okay. I'm going to defend him on this. But anyway, we've kind of heard that perhaps Sterling's losing it a little bit. Maybe he's, I don't know, delusional, just he's not well, shall we say. So does he truly understand, like, does he not get that he's jumping from topic to topic? Does he not realize what he did was wrong? Or is he just trying to be a weasel and get out of it? I think he's being a weasel to try and get out of it.
Or maybe he's just a lawyer that's pretending all this because he wants people to leave him alone.
He was
or
baited.
Have any sympathy.
Baited.
Yeah, but see Vivian, whatever her name is, or Vivian, whatever her name is.
Vivian Stringer, coach of the
Rutgers. Yeah, no, I knew that wasn't right. That's why I didn't keep going with it. Stiviano or whatever her name is.
Your boy.
He's a pile. Get him out of there. And now he says that he's not going to pay the fine, and he could sue the league, and this will lead to the NBA players boycotting.
In regards to the fine, Does anyone really have a problem with him not paying the fine? If he gets kicked out of the league, I wouldn't pay a fine if they kicked me out too. So I mean, I don't have a problem with him kicking him out, but at the same time, I don't blame him for being like, why the hell am I going to pay you money? I mean, what are they going to do if he doesn't pay it? They're already
going to kick him out of the league.
I mean, I guess that's the thing that I've never understood with this whole thing.
He'll take it out of minority. He'll just charge the minorities in his apartment complexes more.
It's like saying you're banned from school for a month, but you got to come and have detention too. I'm not coming to school. I'm banned. I'm staying home and sleeping until 10 o'clock. So screw that. Any thoughts on that Magic Johnson comment? That is anything that you wanted to add before I have my piece?
Well, Magic Johnson played for the Lakers, and since he's the owner of the Clippers, I guess maybe just secretly he just doesn't ever want to give a Laker credit. I don't know.
Well, he said he doesn't. Magic Johnson, tons of money, done tons of things. He got the movie theater thing, tons of stuff that he's done. So to say he hasn't helped anybody, I don't believe that. But and something that I don't believe I've heard anybody say that Donald Sterling actually made a good point. But I will say that he actually made a good point when he incorrectly said he had AIDS when he has HIV. So we'll say Magic Johnson, HIV carrier, unprotected sex, married, goes around cheating on his wife all the time. That's not good. And nobody's ever called him on it for the last 25 years. And so I don't believe that in that aspect. I do not believe that Magic Johnson is a good role model for kids. And Donald Sterling laid it out well. It's just a shame that nobody likes Donald Sterling, because I think that is a very valid point. HIV carrier, cheating on the wife, challenging Chamberlain for the $20,000 women club. Why is this not brought up when talking about Magic Johnson? He got HIV somehow. It's because he had his hole in something different every hour of every day.
I don't know. If I had to take a stab at it, my guess would be that there's just too many people that like Magic Johnson, and whether it's right or not, that the backlash would be severe.
Isn't that kind of like Kobe Bryant though, with the whole hotel maid in Colorado thing?
That's
well, I think there's a difference between consensual sex and rape. I think we can.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, people say, "Oh yeah, Kobe Bryant." I mean, those of us who don't really like him at all.
He's very competitive. He's very competitive.
I guess we should just put it this way. In general, sports fans, if you're a fan of a certain team, and not everybody, but if somebody's good, they're not going to say bad things about them, even if they're not generally good people.
That's why I don't say anything about Chris Cook.
Nobody in Pittsburgh has anything against Ben Roethlisberger.
Adrian Peterson, more kids than he has hands or fingers on this hand. Nobody's called him on that yet. So I don't know. Get past the tragedy of people dying and all this, and then you go back to that and say, well, the guy's 30 and he's already got a half dozen kids with a half dozen women. Maybe you don't put him. Maybe you don't put him on the Wheaties box and give him, hey, here's a bowl of cereal. Eat this. Eat that. Well, maybe you keep the kids limit down to maybe 2 or 3 instead of 6 or 7. But
how about with the same woman too?
That's just me talking. You want to have 25 kids with the same woman. That's her choice. I would hope. But
yeah, take a lesson from Philip Rivers.
Yeah, you don't need a difference.
Can we think of like a general? Of someone obviously in sports that's good and is likable, but someone who like never has any problems at all, that is marketable. It could just be that there's nobody that fits the description of being a superstar.
Drew Brees,
great at their sport.
Drew Brees, but Drew Brees, old Purdue's finest. Oh, I'm a New Orleans guy. Christ, you just got there 20 minutes ago. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here.
I think there might be a few quarterbacks, but I think in general is that there's just not. I don't know. Maybe if we start a protest in the Kickstarter account, we can get Jason Witten to sponsor something.
Yes.
Although I don't know if Jason Witten's actually a good guy either. So.
And like Peterson, you don't need one woman for every quarterback you've ever had. Okay? Just because Bridgewater is going to start a game in the next year or two doesn't mean you have to have another kid with another woman.
I think that's a reasonable point. You probably don't need that.
But he does. He does. Tell me a little bit more about this Philip Nelson guy. Kicked somebody in the head apparently in Mankato, former Mankato linebacker. How apparently this guy was a top recruit. How was he a top recruit?
In a couple of massive years in high school in Mankato West in southern part of Minnesota, he was the number 4 quarterback in the country his senior year, I believe. And I bought into the hype. I thought he was really good. He set all sorts of records, not necessarily state high school records, but definitely it was approaching those in Minnesota. High-powered offense, had all the tools. Supposedly had all the intangibles. Supposedly had his head on straight, which is a key to just about anybody having any sort of athletic success. But obviously we saw that that wasn't true. He couldn't play a pass more than 10 yards down the field. His time in Minnesota and ended up transferring, and this happens. But a drunken haze led to his life being changed forever. And not to mention a guy that still was on his last breath, per se. He's fighting for his life, and with Isaac Polstead, it's just a bad story overall.
I think they had a benefit for the guy this weekend in Mankato. They were selling shirts or something.
Brain surgery doesn't sound good. Can't breathe on his own, it sounds like. So,
I think he said he's in a medically induced coma, too.
Him and another guy charged with beating this guy up. Why did he pick Minnesota?
That was the question coming out of high school. It was quite a shock that he stayed at home. That's why everyone got super jacked up his freshman year that he was going to be the guy and be the guy that actually turned Minnesota into a team that was worth a shit. But he had offers from most of the other Big Ten schools. If I recall, it was down to Minnesota, Wisconsin, and one maybe Nebraska. I thought for all the whole he was going to Wisconsin, but stayed at home and still didn't work out. Typical Gophers, they get their guy and it doesn't turn out doing anything like they hoped he would do.
It's summer because it was 23 degrees out the other morning, so that means it's summer. I want to start a Sports Lounge summer trivia contest, which will span months, and we'll take a couple questions. We'll do a practice round here to whet everybody's appetite and to get you hard. So, if you love our trivia,
I thought you've seen Seinfeld. I thought you weren't supposed to mix those two things together.
What did I say?
Yeah, isn't that something that George did once, mixing food and sex together?
Oh yes, yeah.
And it gets into some weird.
Wet your
Can't do one without the other, or something like that.
Yeah, and then you mix the two, and you feel like you're doing both. Yeah, you got a corned beef sandwich in the freaking drawer by the bed. That's no good for anybody. It works best with 4, maybe 5 people. So we'll run through a quick round now or two, come up with some different questions for later. But different than any other trivia that we've done through the years. No hockey, of course. No hockey.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Purple shirt
Can we just quick here? Who are your picks? Are you taking Montreal or the Rangers?
I'm taking the Penguins over the Kings.
Okay, well, at least you still have a shot with the Kings.
My Wild made it, so I'm happy. Kings in 6. Nordiques in 7.
Who are the two teams?
The Kings are playing the Blackhawks in the West. The Rangers are taking on the Canadiens in the East.
Well, the Canadiens are going to win the whole thing. If we've learned anything this year, it's that the United States can't beat Canada in hockey.
Oh.
All right, I like that.
I
would win money with that then.
The 5th annual Stack It Bracket Challenge Hockey Edition. I want to see Montreal make a run, and I want to see the Kings make a run. So,
now, just remember, because I did pick Stephen F. Austin to beat VCU, you do have to watch the Stanley Cup Finals.
I watched quite a bit of that 7-3 game yesterday. I watched that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, that was awful.
Scored a couple in the first, couple in the second, a boatload in the third. Fun had by all. The way the trivia is going to work, you've got baseball teams, You've got basketball teams. You've got football teams. I have one question here for each of those teams. We'll start with baseball. This is just an exhibition season here. So we'll pull your ass after the third quarter. We'll go 3 rounds here. You pick the team, I give you the question. And we'll go through all Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL teams. We'll do 4 or 5 each week, a month or 2, however long it takes to get through them. I think everybody, if there's 4 people, it should take us, there's 23 questions per person about, so 4 or 5 weeks to end it. We'll see who's the last man standing. So Charlie first, Nathan, then David. We'll do a couple, 2, 3 rounds. Name the team, and then I'll give you the question for the team and see if you get it right.
So I can pick any baseball team that I want?
Yeah. And once they're done, they're done. There's only one per team.
Well, if it's baseball, I'm not as privy on baseball as other ones, so I guess I'm just gonna go with the Yankees right now.
The Yankees. The Yankees.
I'm a White Sox fan, but I haven't followed the White Sox in 2 or 3 years. So
Get used to Jose Abreu.
But you don't follow the White Sox. The White Sox, they follow you.
yeah.
The New York Yankees, they've won 27 World Series. That's the most by far of any team. What team have they beaten the most? They've beaten this team 7 times in the World Series.
I know that the team with the second most World Series, at least I believe it's the St. Louis Cardinals. So I'm going to assume that they've played the Cardinals multiple times and say it's the Cardinals.
That's a very good guess.
But it's not correct.
The Dodgers. The
Dodgers. That would have been my second or third guess.
So some of these are pretty tough. Some of these are maybe like that last one. Are okay, Cardinals, Dodgers, a couple other teams are in there. And some you maybe know right away. Nathan Stacken.
Are there any easy questions in here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that first one was fairly easy. You know, it's not going to be the Marlins. I mean, you have it, you know.
See if they're easy.
If you had that question, what would you have said?
I would have guessed the Giants.
And, you know, and what other teams would have been in your mind?
The Dodgers.
See, so you have 2, 3, 4 teams there that you're like, well, that's reasonable. Okay. And some are like that, and some are pretty tough.
Some of them are obscure stats. Like, I mean, are there ones that are of like you just basically have a 1 in 32 chance getting it right?
Who batted 5th on opening day 06? I don't know.
Well, I will take the Minnesota Twins and disgrace all Twins fans with my inability to get this question correct.
This is not the question, but the Twins. The Twins got rid of David Ortiz to the Red Sox. But the Twins, they traded for David Ortiz back in 1996. Who did they trade to get David Ortiz? Trade with? What team?
Oh, trade with. Okay.
So you have, you know, unlikely you get this one, but either it's a 1 in 2 chance you do or you don't. So.
Yep, I do agree. I will go with the Angels.
Very close.
So close. So close.
Mr. Schottenkirk, do you know? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it was Seattle, wasn't it?
Seattle Mariners. Very close. Your turn.
Give me the Dodgers, I guess.
The Dodgers, let's see what they've got. When the Dodgers moved to L.A., who was their first win against?
Oh, Jesus. Why do I just know it's going to kill me when I got no chance here? Boy. Shouldn't be that hard, should. Fuck, I don't. Let's go with the Giants.
Very good.
Hey.
Look at that. Look at that.
It's not so hard.
Charlie Hildebrand.
Same sport still. We're still doing baseball.
Yep.
I guess
And
I
then,
guess I'm going to have to go with the White Sox.
And then when we do it, like next week, if we got Marcus here, we'll do it for real. And you can pick baseball, NBA, or football.
Okay.
You can pick anything.
Gotcha.
Instead of this, you take the White Sox. The
2005, they won the World Series.
Houston Astros.
That is correct.
The World Series no one watched.
They're all watching hockey.
It.
The 1919 Black Sox, you're familiar with the Black Sox, 1919?
Yep. Shoeless Joe Jackson and the scandal through the World Series.
What team did they play? It wasn't.
I've read it.
It wasn't the Colorado Rockies. I'll give you that.
It probably wasn't the Marlins or the Rays either.
Yeah, man, one of those two are right.
I've read it. I don't remember off the top of my head. So instead of trying to take forever to remember it or secretly grabbing a cell phone or an iPad and trying to discreetly look it up, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'll guess that they were playing the Reds.
Very good.
Yeah, dang it.
Was it the Reds?
Yeah.
Well, I was running through NL teams, and
There
I was
weren't
trying
that
to
many. There were like 10
Yeah,
teams back then.
there were less teams then. I almost said the Phillies, and then I remembered the Phillies are usually not any good.
Damn it.
Nathan Sacken, the only one without one right.
Yeah, and that's the way it's going to remain here.
Well,
You didn't even get the question of your favorite team. I got my favorite team's question right.
I knew it was the Reds, too. I should have taken the White Sox right away. I'm going to go...
So it's, obviously I've got a Vikings question here, and it's somewhat difficult. I think if you're a Viking fan, you probably get it, but it's, somewhat. So I expect that one to go off the board quite early next week, but...
I will take the Marlins. Let's go. Give me Miami.
This is the only player that's had their number retired by the Miami Marlins. Your boys.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark guess after Stacken's guess, assuming ours isn't the same.
Oh, crap.
I think Charlie's going to be right.
I'm down to two. Can I get two guesses here? I'm gonna say Bobby Bonilla.
Jesus Christ.
That was your guess too. Your next one, now it's just a backup guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say Gary Sheffield.
This is. Can I guess?
The trick question.
Yeah.
They have none.
No, they got one. Charlie. David knows this one.
Well, since now I don't think I'm going to be right because I actually had a player in mind. Okay. I just know that I'm pretty sure he pitched when they won the World Series, so my guess would be Levon Hernandez.
He never played a game for him.
The number 42.
Oh, shit!
The number 42.
Damn it!
No. No, I feel stupid.
And obviously, when we do this...
Well played. That's a good one.
Yeah. When Stacken plays this for real, obviously he'll never pick baseball. So maybe we'll make a rule that we'll do 4 or 5 questions each week, and you have to pick at least one from each sport.
Nope. I'm going all NFL.
Well, then we're gonna send you to Montreal. David Zottenkirk.
Give me the Colorado Rockies.
Colorado Rockies. Where'd they play their first 2 seasons at? What stadium?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say Mile High.
Mile High Stadium. Yes.
That was right.
That was right.
All right.
Okay, that's an easy question.
Well, see, that's part of the deal. It's like big Price is Right fan. You went to the Price is Right in Brookings?
Yes, I did.
Similar to the big game.
You know what was garbage about that is that they had a hole-in-one. That's one of my favorite games. I'd love to go on there and win a car. They had to win they had to win a refrigerator. Why the hell would I know you can't do a car here. They only had 1 car available the entire show, but come on. Let's get a little real here. Hole-in-one for a refrigerator? No, thank you.
Sell it. Make a couple $100. I would assume this game is similar to the game where you punch the things.
Punch board.
Lots of options. Maybe you get 10,000. Maybe you get 100. It all depends on your punching power.
Maybe
it all depends on how smart you are.
Punch and get to keep going.
See? There you
Yeah,
go.
that's true. And I just I'm not very good with baseball trivia, obviously.
Well, obviously that's why.
And
One more.
if I
One more.
remember correctly, when we did the Sports Lounge TV show, I was never very good at trivia either.
Well, that's the way that works, I guess.
So
I remember there was that one time we had the kind of like name that song where it would start with the like you would give us something and people would just like say, "Oh, I'll do more," and then stack and bet that like I couldn't name 3 guys who would hit 50 home runs in a year.
Yeah, that was bad.
Like, well, I suppose I could probably do that, and we were all surprised. That's literally all I remember about that entire game.
That was a good one. One more round. Are we under? That's not very difficult to pick up, but one more. Charlie Elderbeck.
Let's see. I'll go with the Baltimore Orioles. Why not? Because Cal Ripken used to play there. Even though I don't know too much else about the Orioles.
He's going to be the answer.
From 1902 to 1953, the Baltimore Orioles were known as this. They were a different franchise altogether. Where did they move from? And what was their name?
What were the dates again?
From 1902 to 1953.
I don't even know if I have a great guess at this. I don't know. The
teammate was the Browns. And it won't help.
The Oakland Raiders.
Close. What do you say?
So I was just trying to get my hint. The team name was the Browns. I wasn't giving you the city. But,
Where are they from?
St. Louis.
St. Louis Browns, yes.
It would have been many guesses, so I would have got that right.
That was one of the more difficult ones. Nathan Stack, and this is your last opportunity. Hydrate.
You know what? Let's knock out Florida right away. Let's do the Tampa Bay Rays. No. Let's go Arizona Diamondbacks.
I'll just say, let's see here. I'll say right now, both of those were fairly easy.
Okay, we'll go Diamondbacks.
Shocking, you get another one of these questions. Arizona Diamondbacks. They have 2 numbers retired. One would be Jackie Robinson.
Yes.
The other was actually a player that played for them. What number have they retired? What player?
What player? Luis Gonzalez.
Very good. Nathan Sackett on the board, everybody. Yeah, very good.
You're batting .333, and since we're playing baseball, that means you're a Hall of Famer right now.
Yeah. David Schottenkirk, one more.
Let's do the Angels.
Anaheim Angels. This is a tougher one. What pitcher has the most opening day starts for the Angels? 6 times this guy's started on opening day.
Well, I want to say he's on our roster right now, but that doesn't seem right. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jared Weaver, even though I don't think it's right.
Jared Weaver is correct. That's where that goes.
Wow.
I think I got it. There's 92 teams available here. So it should be somewhere around 20, a little over 20, 22, 23, 24 questions for everybody. Projected number of how many correct answers it'll take to win.
Well, Schottenkirk's getting them all right now, so I'm going to say however many he gets.
Well, if each person gets like 23 or so, my guess is that it'll probably take like 15 to win.
15 to win.
I think it'd be probably closer to 10. I think some of these questions are real hard. I got that Jared Weaver was just the name I could think of. I really honestly didn't know any other Angels pitchers that have been open day starter. But are any of the questions like all-time leader or home runs for a team or passing yards?
Yeah,
I think that might be easier than some of this other stuff. But.
Yeah, single season leaders, all-time leaders in this category. Last player to do this, last player to do that.
Yeah.
So that type of stuff.
Good stuff.
Maybe
I like this idea.
Yes. It's always about the trivia. It's very good.
Something different with the trivia that we've never done before. A different spin on it. So we'll do this for the next 4 or 5 weeks. We'll end the show that way with 4 or 5 questions for everybody. So any final thoughts? Playoffs coming up. A big gap, a big goddamn gap here. 3 days between games, I mean 2 and 3 for Indiana, Miami. Charlie left us there. He had enough of it. Playoffs coming up. Twins on the West Coast, late games. Stacking your hockey. Anything we missed? Anything you're looking forward to?
I would like to say that the Jaguars had a record attendance for their mini camp, their OTA,
Sure.
this past, I think it was today or something. So, Schottenkirk knows that the Jaguar fans are feeling Bortles fever right now.
There we
Down
have
there in Jacksonville.
Bortles fever. We should trademark it.
I believe that makes you shit violently. Bortles fever, I think.
I got nothing. We're kind of in a lull right now.
Your reaction, Mr. Stacking, to Vince McMahon losing $350 million worth of stock.
I hear he is no longer a billionaire. I heard he lost it in Vegas. Is this no?
Much like Pete Rose, he bet on wrestling and he bet wrong.
Well, that's because wrestling is fake, and he probably
it's
didn't
real.
know.
It's not
How
fake.
is it
It's
fake?
scripted.
How is it fake?
It's scripted.
Are these holograms, for Christ's sake? Are these animated people? How is it fake?
That's what I mean. It's scripted. How's that?
It's the same
Yes.
as every single show on television.
Thank
It's the
you.
exact same thing. How is it any different?
Or do you consider WWE a sport?
It's athletic.
I didn't ask if it was athletic. I said, is it a sport?
It's not a sport because the outcome is predetermined.
Exactly. Okay, so it's a reality show.
It's like an action movie, except they have one take to do it, and they just do it live every week.
All right, second question for you.
Yeah.
Could you take a choke slam and not break your back, or your neck, or your arm, or something falling awkwardly? Athletic, no, it's not a sport, but they're damn good athletes.
There's
Oh,
an art.
I'm
There's
there.
an art to it.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
There we go. I think it's very impressive that these guys can go out there and do what they do, and make it look as good as they can.
Because it looks damn good 95% of the time.
There you go. So
Well,
for
I feel for Vince McMahon losing $350 million. I wish I had $350 million to squander in a matter of minutes.
you could buy a refrigerator, so you wouldn't have to go to the Price is Right.
That's exactly right. I could buy many LG
This is
refrigerators.
good. Did you see Bill Cosby the other week?
I did not.
Was that even considered?
It was considered, but I can't remember when he was here, and I probably wasn't here to see him for that. So it really wouldn't have mattered had I wanted to go. But it was considered at one point.
You and Marcus had the two-man show booked pretty tight that week, and I remember.
Yes, yeah, we were down in Flanders all week. We're looking to expand to Larchwood, Iowa, Grand Casino, or Grand Falls.
Oh boy.
They're going to shut down the Argosy in Sioux City, so get down there before they close shop.
Yes.
Yes. Charlie Hildebrand, David Schottenkirk, Nathan Stackin. We'll see you, Marcus Ratzer, next week. And Drew Amon. We ran out of time. We couldn't get Drew Amon on. We'll get him on next week. We ran out of time. I'm Travis Kriens. Sports Lounge 68 next week.